Creating a trustworthy business. Yes. How do you create a trustworthy business? Does digital trust matter for all businesses? How is AI playing a role? What is the role of privacy? What role does compliance play in life of an entrepreneur? How do you manage compliance if you're an entrepreneur? And more importantly, how do you set up and grow a sustainable, profitable, and trustworthy business? Now, these are interesting questions and not easy ones indeed. So, for this, we are going to go and talk to Neil Twa, who is a professional who helps entrepreneurs set up and grow businesses, and he has developed his own methodology. And he's also going to distribute 10 of his books for free. If you use the code FIT4PRIVACY, all in caps, then you have a chance to get those books. And let's ask these questions: how to set, grow, and expand a trustworthy business with Neil Twa.
Hello, and welcome to the Fit for Privacy podcast with Punit Bhatia. This is the podcast for those who care about their privacy. Here, your host, Punit Bhatia, has conversations with industry leaders about their perspectives, ideas, and opinions relating to privacy, data protection, and related matters. Be aware that the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are not legal advice. Let us get started.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fit for Privacy podcast. And today we have Neil Twa with us. Neil, welcome to Fit for Privacy podcast.
Brenda, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here and honored to talk about some things in privacy and business and growth and everything else we want to unpack today.
Looking forward to it. So maybe let's start with the simple question. The businesses are becoming digital, or digital footprint of a business is very critical these days.
Yeah.
And when we talk about a digital footprint, there's this challenge of trust, because can you trust this business? Like, I get a lot of emails, you get a lot of emails, we visit a lot of websites, and the question is, can we trust this product?
Yeah.
And the concept of digital trust is coming up. How do you define this concept of digital trust?
Well, in my experience, there's three components of this that build into any kind of relationship, business, personal, business, otherwise, whether you're the person having dealings with the business owner or whether or not you have a relationship with a business or a company. It's the know, like, and trust relationship structure. It has to do with whether or not you know and understand what they're doing, you know what they're about, you know what the value benefit of that is. You like it, you like the people that are involved, you like the concept, you like the idea, you not just know it, but like it. And then by proxy, you're willing to leverage some trust. Trust but verify is an important component of this. No one should implicitly trust anything yet until they have a chance to verify it. Everybody's level of verification is different, of course. But if you remember back not too long ago, we had our verification of trust in the business world through the Yellow Pages, right? It was published companies in the Yellow Pages. They were just sort of implicitly trusted, right? If they're in the book, they must be legit. That quickly moved to the internet world where it was brochure websites. A company must have a brochure website or they're not a legitimate company. And then we moved into the, fast forward the digital age, of course, which has moved extremely quick. And, it's been a little harder with so much information, so many people and so many new things coming online. And now it seems like literally every day, every week, there's a new AI system we hear about or some new thing going on. And the question becomes, well, what can you trust in all of that information? Since we move so quickly into the world, for me, and being in the physical product world and the branding world of those physical products in both a virtual real estate of the online world, Amazon, TikTok, Shopify, websites, etc., and then the physical aspect of that actual product that you can touch. This is the one that I leveraged to be able to create a virtual real estate, relationship with a customer. And the trust comes from when they get the product. So with the actual physical product, I'm able to create a trust relationship with my customers, which is unlike a purely digital model. I had done digital models a lot. I had done digital marketing. I'd done affiliate marketing. I'd done those other things and learned and experienced and had success and failures in those. But when it came down to putting a component of a physical product behind it, in my world, that made the whole relationship real. It made it tangible. And so at this stage now, the know, like, and trust component of that comes out of them believing that they're going to get the product, and having a know and like with it. And the trust comes when the product actually lands in their lap. And this is one of the things I think that, has been more difficult in the world of pure digital marketing and AI driven systems and stuff, to establish trust above other systems that are in the marketplace. And that's a little harder sometimes for customers to try to, navigate that jungle, if you will.
Yeah, that's always challenging to navigate, but it's also challenging for entrepreneurs or people setting up businesses to
Yeah.
navigate the building up of the business. How do you
Right.
build up the business? How do you make it sustainable? How do you make it profitable? And
Yeah,
of course, the trustworthy. So,
absolutely.
when we talked earlier, you were talking about that four-step approach which you have to
Hmm.
building a successful, trustworthy, sustainable, profitable business.
Yeah.
Would you elaborate on that
Yeah,
part?
yeah. When I first got involved in business a while ago, after like 18 years ago, I left my job at IBM, which was a trustworthy organization. Many people understood it and knew what its value was and understood the cost basis of it. And of course, when I jumped out of that and I burned the boats, which meant I was never going to go back. I didn't burn the bridges. I was at least smart enough to not burn bridges when I left. But the boats I burned because I was never going to go back. And with that, I set out on my own. And one of the things I had trouble with in the first 3-4 years was establishing trust. It was establishing a network, establishing credibility through a sales cycle. Eventually, I kind of figured that out. I got a mentor, and he really hammered into my brain, sales fixes everything, but here are the ethics of selling. And as I continue to learn how to do that in business, eventually, in the physical product world, I discovered, products are a little easier to gain that trust, as I mentioned earlier. And one of the major components of gaining the trust is understanding where the market is and then providing the market what it wants, right? There's something called demand creation, and then there's demand capture. With a new business, a new service, new software, new product, demand creation is where you get out and you make videos and you explain things and you go on podcasts and you make people aware of your value, what you are, who you are, what your narrative is. What are you about? What's your principles? Or can I relate to them? Can I like them? Do they fall in line with my belief structure as a person or my worldview? And then demand, capture is your ability to grab that person or situation and turn it into a sale. It's our number one thing. And I remember the first conversation I had with somebody at the consulting level when I had finally broken past my 7 figures in my physical product brand as an operator. I had a lot of people who were like, hey, how did you do that? I want to do that. I'm trying to do that. I'm not getting it right. And I took a lot of free consulting calls from people when I was explaining and trying to help people, and not charging them, but just doing it and helping them, realizing I was spending so much time doing it. But in one particular call, we get through the first stage of product research, the first step. And I remember we get to the end and I explained it. I thought I did a really great job of articulating. I thought he understood. And then we get to the end of the conversation. He goes, but Neil, what the hell do I sell? And I'm like, wait, why did you not get that? Like, we just went over this. So I realized there had to be more behind the answer to the question of step one, what the heck do I sell and who do I sell it to? And it became a fundamental component of the process because it forced me to think, well, how did I get to 7 figures? What did I actually sell and why did I sell it and where did I go? And I want to make sure I repeat that process. And I really want to understand how to standardize it so I can turn it into a repeatable business model, not just a one-hit wonder, right? And that led me to understanding the second step, after conditionally looking into the market and asking, what the heck can I sell? I learned that places like Amazon at that point, through their fulfilled by Amazon mechanism called FBA, was a demand capture platform. As other things were growing and this was growing more in the marketplace, many people were coming to it because they trusted the delivery of the products. They trusted that when they ordered a product, it would show up. They trusted the review system because they believed in the integrity of the review system. It was relatively new then, and many companies have replicated it over the last 12 years into their systems, but it was new and it was a process by which many people felt that it was trustworthy. And with that process, they were willing to take a risk and order a product they'd never seen, believing that in 2 days it was going to show up and meet their requirements. Okay. And as long as I did that, I captured that demand. What I had to do was make sure that it went by the numbers. And that's step two. Knowing the numbers of the business was a critical component to not just identifying what product I should sell, but can I make it profitable? Like the most important aspect of the business model. Can I make it profitable? When I sell a unit, do I get to keep anything from it? Obviously, running a business at break even is not cool, right? Running a business at a loss, of course, not cool. Running business on vanity metrics like revenue, not cool. We say revenue is vanity, cash flow is king, and profit is sanity. Okay, so we need the sanity of profit for ourselves, our family, our business, whatever. We can't grow without it. We have to know the numbers. And in the physical product world, knowing your numbers is extreme importance in the movement of product. Just-in-time delivery, ordering and manufacturing product from different locations from the United States all to the rest of the world, having them delivered in such a way and making sure the product has an integrity to it, a quality product, right? But the other component of that I realized was step 3 was not to marry the products. Don't fall in love with the products. There are millions of them. It's a mistake many amateur or aspiring entrepreneurs make when they think about getting into a physical product business or they start down the road of a physical product business. They get married to their products. Blood, sweat, tears, love, hate, all this stuff gets thrown in. All the hopes and dreams, what we call the hopium mentality of the online world, right? Like a little dime bag of hopium. My selling my product or selling this business or selling all these things is going to, create all my Lambo hopes and dreams, right? And it typically is not one product. It is usually a portfolio of products. So you need to understand the portfolio. And as we called it our 5x5 methodology. That was making sure that we had launched at least a minimum of 5 products in a market test to determine that what the market wanted, we were able to provide. In other words, the market drove what we create and did and still does. And we work our best to understand what the customer needs are of that market. And a lot of that has now become AI driven, which is cool. And we'll dig into that, I'm sure. But it's to understand that we don't marry our products. There's plenty of girlfriends to steal. In other words, I can build a brand and put a bunch of products in that brand and then determine what the market wants to buy from me. I'm not smart enough to tell the market what it wants. Most people are not. They think they are. They think they need to be Elon Musk. They think they need to go on Shark Tank. They think they need to, if the old Iowa thing, if you build it, they will come kind of stuff. And it's not actually how it works. Okay. The market is already in demand for 99% of the available products out there. So become part of the 99%. Provide a product that they want, but keep asking the market what it wants from you until it finds a product and you find a product that dials in profitably. And then just replicate that. Do what Jim Collins says in Good to Great. You hedgehog. So as we don't marry our products, we discover which ones are great, and then we hedgehog into those products. We borrow things from retail, like Apple. Okay. If you have an iWatch, you got an iPad, you got an iMac in your house. And then you have one for your kid or your wife or your significant other. And pretty soon you got 20 Apple products in your house. You go vertical and then you go horizontal across your brand. Once you find what the market wants to give, you just keep hedgehogging down into that brand and just keep going. And then the phrase success is boring sort of kicks in later on because, well, you're giving the market everything they want from you and you've built this brand and it kind of becomes more of an almost automated income at that point because you're just continuing to follow the same pipeline of products and innovations. And innovation is an important word there. We don't invent, we innovate. That's the 99%, not the 1%. And then we have to get traffic. Okay. The 4th step is making sure that you have eyeballs on your offer. Who is buying your product? Once you understand what's out there and what you can provide, how do you get to that? Well, we leverage an asset that was already created. Okay. And it is built by a guy named Jim Bezos called Amazon. And they already have 200 million customers in there. And guess what? They're only there to buy stuff. So we take products to the demand that is already there. And we ask the market, do you want this product from us? And it responds by giving us sales. And the one that gets the most sales at the most profit is the one that we continue to work on. It's the one that gets marketed. It's the one that grows. And I'm oversimplifying this a little bit in my explanation on it, but it's really find a product, manufacture a product, and sell a product. It really is at the end of the day. What we do is we pivot through enough products and to discover that demand because it's flowing like a river. We say Amazon is like a river, but it's also a decision tree of information ran by a large AI system. So when we're looking at this AI system, it is continuously generating petabytes and zettabytes of information that are being consumed by large language models and have been for a long time. Originally, it was a semantic search engine, okay, keyword based, which has driven into so much information that now AI is driving it with large language models. And one of them is called Cosmo, which is the ranking engine that runs below Amazon.com when you search for products. It's a customer intent or customer needs based engine. And the other one's called Rufus, which is your kind of helper, a AI helper that kind of helps you go through and discover what kind of products you want. And that engine is moving extremely fast. They launched it last year and it's being used more and more, literally every day into the hundreds of millions of searches that are helping to condition data towards a customer need. And so what ended up happening and what has happened over the years we've done this is we moved from placing product in front of that demand, that river of traffic in such a way that it was keyword driven. And now we're doing it on a needs base. What do they need? What's the intent of that need? Because now the AI system is driving all the information that turns that customer into a just-in-time buyer in 30 seconds or less based on a product they didn't even know they needed, but now they're gonna buy it because they just realized, well, I need it, because the engine was smart enough to have figured that out. So we actually sell data to an AI engine. Okay. It sells products to customers, right? So I'm not a product development person. I'm a product alignment person who sells data and information to an AI engine that sells the product to the customer. When you know that role, you invert the relationship in fear of the original question. What the hell do I sell? Why? Because the engine will tell you. The engine will tell you what it wants, what it needs, and what is already in demand. And you simply need to provide a brand and a unique selling position, a slight bit of innovation, and put that product in the market because the need is already flowing. And on Amazon, it's 8,600 units a minute. The system turns 8,600 units a minute. If you can't figure out how to get a product to turn past 6 figures on Amazon, you're missing something. If you don't understand how to do it profitable, you probably chose the wrong business metrics to make sure that it's profitable. But that is the 4 steps to determining a product through growth and taking advantage and then moving into multiple channels, okay, beyond Amazon. Amazon is not an only business model, it's a sales channel. It is one sales channel in multiple channels that you should expand into a holistic e-commerce company. And with that, we have something called the platinum principle. It's a bonus step here in this process. And that is that these businesses are worth more in the end than at any time during the business building phase. So we are building for 3 and 5 year momentum and growth to an exitable state where that brand is worth potentially millions of dollars.
You mentioned the use of AI by Amazon, and you
Yep.
also mentioned something called sell data to AI engine or sell.
Yeah. Selling data to an AI
Do you
engine.
really mean selling data or feeding data?
So when I sell data to an engine, I have to do that with a physical product behind it. So technically, I
Okay.
have to buy the product. I have to sell the engine on my product being the best product so that I can churn through that inventory. So there is a cost associated with that. And my goal is to get that engine to believe that I'm the better product. Okay. Out of the current stream of data moving there 24/7, 365, there's a particular area in this big giant technical filing cabinet where that product lives. And where that product lives has only so many competitors that are selling that product. Okay. It could be 7, could be 23, could be 12. We can identify how many people are there and then identify which ones have the top 80% of profit for that stream. Could be, they say, air fryers, okay, that are searched 35 million times a year. Okay. There are like 36 competitors, and those 36 competitors have divvied up market share for the 35 million searches a year that are coming through that platform. So it's very specific. I came there, I'm looking for an air fryer. I want to buy an air fryer. Here are my 36 choices, basically, from 36 vendors. If I want to be the 37th vendor, I have to understand where to place my product in that system correctly. I have to understand what the AI wants from me with that particular product. And then I have to give it the data that says, hey, I'm one of the top people. You just haven't recognized it yet. And in time, you're going to see that I'm the better product. I'm the better product data. Okay. So it looks at everything about the conversions, the metrics, the copy, and the engine data that powers it to the customer and that meets the customer demand. And then it delivers a product through that infrastructure, right? It does it for me automatically from its warehouse. It picks and packs and ships the product. And as long as I get a sale, then that sale is just another data point that validates my demand. If I get a positive review, it's another data point that validates my integrity of data in the system. We all start with 100 on an IDQ score, it's called, and then that goes down. As long as I keep my data very relevant and keep it high on the score list, I will start to overtake competitors in the marketplace. Why? My data, okay, for my product is better than the other ones. And when it becomes better, the demand for my product becomes greater, and I get closer to what we call Amazon's slipstream, which is where that product might be moving 1,000 units a day of air fryers. And I just am not there yet. I'm moving closer and closer to that slipstream as I take over more market share. Pretty soon, I'm overtaking other competitors' market share, and I'm going from 100 to 200 to 500 to 600 units a day as I get closer to that with my data becoming more relevant.
And when you say data, that means the data relating the product and the company. So brand
Yep.
perception and the
It's the
product perception.
brand, it's the image, the graphics, the copy, the listing itself, which is like a web page. Okay. And it's that data and conversion data, along with how many sales I'm converting out of how many people viewed my listing, CRO, customer relationship data. And it's down to the conversion metrics, right? How many people am I converting per every 1,000 people that view my product? And as long as my data is going higher and greater which means it's more in demand by the customers who are viewing it, my data will overtake the other data from the customers that are already there who are buying somebody else's product. And instead, they're buying mine. So as that data gets better and the reviews get better, then my entire data set matures. And the longer it matures in the market, the more units I can move.
So it's nothing to do with personal data. Privacy is still protected.
It's protected through Amazon's terms of service, right? So
Yeah.
through the customer base that I'm leveraging, Amazon has a terms of service with each of us. And I don't know if you do, but we do. We order 3-4 times a week from Amazon. The customer integrity of that platform is done by their terms of service. And as a customer, we have, reciprocal things we can do through rating the feedback of the seller, to rating the product itself in an actual review, to complaining to Amazon as a customer for the product we got that had a problem, a broken bad, a defect, a return policy. We're protected through that data in that system by leveraging their platform.
Good. And you also talk, so I'm glad privacy is insured or assured.
Yeah.
The other aspect you talked about was the usage of AI, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So is it the usage by Amazon or even the e-commerce builders or providers of products using AI in one or the other way?
So the simple answer is both. I'll explain
Okay.
both. Amazon obviously is built large language models and is investing a lot of money in AI-driven customer intent models. And through acquisitions of certain platforms, even putting a bid in this week to get TikTok possibly to add that data set and demand creation to their platform. And then Twitch and Freevee and Amazon Prime, that's pulling data and viewership data for certain businesses in, so they can start putting, direct response commercials inside those platforms for specific product using the AI data. They've developed a whole strategy of AI and ranking that's behind them, and using Cosmo and Rufus and other systems to use AI to get just in front of that customer right before they realize what they need and give them the product that it predicts that they need based on their intent. And showing and being like, oh, wait, I actually do need that product. And it shows up during a Freevee video you were watching for, outdoor guides, and you love outdoor products. And it's like, well, here's the best outdoor product for you. And you're like, oh yeah, I actually need that. So you click over and you buy it. That customer needs and intent is based in their engine. They now give us some of that data, and we have compiled data and product data in our own system over time, and have developed AI systems on our own platforms. One's called Cayman Data, where we have our own systems, AI information, massaging data, looking for trends, looking at the customer needs, producing what we call a green light process in that to give us the green, yellow, or red based on that data as to whether or not it's a product that we should sell. So ours became a very methodical, data-driven, and using AI systems and massaging the data for presentation back to the user. In this instance, it's us right now. We're able to see exactly what's in demand, how much that demand is actually being met and not met, and where to position products in the top 2, 3, 4 positions of a specific data set, okay, or a product, let's say an air fryer. We know exactly where to place which air fryer, which variation, and which type into the market to meet a customer demand segment that exists. So we're not guessing. We're using AI, and we're using data, we're using data analytics, and the engines are turning that over for us. And now it's going out with agents and pulling that data together, compiling it, and then presenting it to us and showing us, here, this is the product you should go after. This is the one that has the great customer need, has your profitability, has upside potential, tells us competitor data, and it all presents a very good decision-making process that's data-driven. And most of that is driven by AI-based systems now.
Good. And in all that, you need skills. And there are many types of skills, but broadly speaking, skills to grow your business and skills to comply.
Yeah.
Comply with the regulation. There's the privacy regulation, the AI requirements, and other requirements. So how does it go when you're setting up the business? What kind of skills and how do you source them? Because you can't be an expert in everything, no?
No, you can't. No, and eventually you have to learn to trust other people around you with other skill sets and understand that they maybe do something better than you. A good business person knows they can't do all of it, but they know enough to be dangerous. They train enough to understand enough about what it is, so they know that they got the right person in the right seat on the bus, right? If not, you move them around. That's a whole nother skill set. That takes time. Then, 10,000 hours to a mastered understanding, right? Or 18 minutes a day for a year, and you should be able to master something. So everybody needs to think about, what am I willing to learn? And can I spend 18 minutes a day learning it and even testing it and training it and understanding the prompts or an engine or an output or what I'm getting from the system based on privacy, based on images, based on graphics or videos or other things. And then knowing enough to be dangerous, I can go out to the market and say, well, I need this person to do this objective and these 3 key results. That's it. I know what the objective is. These are my 3 key results. I know how to do it. You should be able to replicate it faster than me. If you can't do that, there's the phrase hire fast, fire faster. Okay. And so when you are replicating or creating force multipliers of yourself, most people are not willing to take the energy and time and attention to learn it enough themselves to be dangerous so they know how to apply it to their business model. And if they're just out playing around with it, that's one thing. In my world, it's applying it to a specific outcome. It's a brand that launches a good product and the product has a specific upside potential, and the portfolio of products in a brand has a 5-year strategy for exit. So I have very specific reasons and places where AI fits in. For example, time compression when it comes to copywriting. Okay. When I know that the engine and customer intent of that engine is a specific need, I want to wrap that entire copy around that need. And an AI-based engine, knowing that, can help me dial in that language, natural phrasing, and the customer need language required to tell the engine, this is what I want. So it's almost engine to engine based communication now. If you're putting a human in between a lot of that, you're losing. In the marketing world now, we have AI engines that help us track the data and analytics and the campaigns themselves, and then make intelligent decisions based on the data that it will do continuously, minute by minute, 24/7, which is operating at a machine to machine competition level now. If you're a human trying to buy media against machines, you're going to lose. So there are systems and processes now in which, our particular world of the physical product brand building, we have and needed and are implementing AI in order to stay up with machine to machine competition. Otherwise, we're not going to be relevant very quickly, because if we're trying to keep up with them as humans, we simply are going to fall behind. We just need to be able to understand how. And it literally gets down to, even the videos we create, which have AI driven aspects, the images we use, which have AI components driven into them, both on the metadata side, as well as the actual visuals that can be created through, a physical product picture that can be translated into all these environments, influencers, and all kinds of things that AI can use to take that product and move it into all these environments and all these use cases very, very quickly. So I can tap into exactly what kind of customer avatar wants that product. Okay. And I can do that using AI and watch the AI systems. We even have what we call a VChat system inside of my dashboard, where we've programmed 3 VChat agents in there. Howie is the one that talks about all relative to Amazon's current terms of service, all of its updated documents. It constantly looks at anything that changes in the terms of service and Amazon's communication and documentations, feeds it back into that model, and then we're able to ask it questions. So we're constantly relevant to any changes, policy changes, privacy changes, etc. We just ask Howie and it tells us, right? We've got a research assistant called Ira. Ira is all about anything product related to compliance, the products and the demand, and you can ask it questions and it will spit it out. So each of these agents has been trained and continuously trained to support ourselves, support our operators, and things that are constantly moving and changing in the environment. And so if you're not doing these things in your business, you're falling behind already. It's hard to develop something, in my mind, in the AI innovative world, because that's changing so fast, and hundreds of millions and billions, maybe even trillions of dollars now are being deployed into that. It's where do I use specific tools that I can see positively impact this particular use case, this objective in my business, and then deploy that agent or AI tool or whatever into making it go faster and easier and compressing time and replicating, an individual 5 times, having one person do the work of 5 people. That is something that we can do now. It means that I don't have employees. I have very targeted individuals who do things and use those systems to replicate that out.
That makes sense. I think it's been quite insightful right from the concept when you introduced trust being know and like the concept, know and like the product, know and like the company, know and like the person, then creating demand to capturing demand, which is decoding sales into 2 steps, because most people confuse it.
They do. They confuse marketing and sales, and don't remember that marketing is an activity of sales, not
Exactly.
a guarantee.
Yeah. So demand creation and demand capture.
Correct.
I think demand creation, to me, in my mind, is more difficult. Demand capture, of course, is a niche skill, but you need to have the demand created to capture it.
You must create that demand. That's the narrative, right? So for us, it's like, how do we want the narrative speaking to a specific person or type to resonate in their brain using the know, like, and trust concept? So you have to build that narrative or leverage that narrative against existing audiences. And I do find that to be a little more difficult. With existing demand demand creation, demand capture, when I start on platforms like Amazon, there's already demand. I'm going to see
Yeah.
how much of that I can demand capture. And then I can turn around and say, oh, I know what they want. I know what they like. I know how they're liking it. I know how they're saying it. I got that figured out now. And then I can go to demand creation and simply just replicate it. It goes easier for me to go that direction.
Absolutely. And then the four steps, the selling, the fulfilling, and the creation of portfolio and generating or getting traffic. And
Yep.
that's where I'm fascinated with the use of AI engines, the extent of use of AI engine, but also pleased that it's being done in a privacy protected way. And then finally, when you talk about the skills, I think my key takeaway is you can't do everything by yourself. You have to
Yep.
hire the right skills.
Yeah.
And the businessman focus on the business, the compliance guy focus on the compliance, the sales guy focuses on sales, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
So pretty much very interesting conversation. Now, if somebody wants to talk to you or wants to connect with you, what's the best way and what should they connect you for?
Yeah. If you go to voltagedm.com, that's voltagedm.com, digitalmarketing.com, you'll check out the presentation. There's a book, My Almost Automated Income with FBA. It's a strategy guide, 15 chapters that goes over the 4 steps, but expands it into our playbook, along with guests that I interviewed in the different areas of focus around the business model, along with case studies and resources to kind of help support the concepts we talked about today. So for those of you who are readers, you might want to check that out. There's a paperback version there as well. We also have a training in there, a workshop that you can check out as well, as a presentation that explains what we call our as seen on TV, which is that demand capture model of finding, because my first product that became a 7-figure brand, I discovered at 4 a.m. in the morning while I was feeding my daughter, and realized there was demand to capture. And so we went out and turned it into a major brand. You can check that out. And if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, and you think, hey, I reached this, part of my life. I've been working for a while. I've been wondering if physical products and brands and these kinds of things could be for me, if e-commerce could be something that I could do. This is where we talk about building CEO operators. We have a brand incubation 12-month thing we do with training that teaches people how to become CEO operators from the ground out, structuring your LLC, your formation, your privacy, your trademarks, how to indemnify yourself, and build a business that becomes a going concern, and then how to get it to a saleable asset. Very important, beginning with everything from the start all the way through how do I actually get it to a saleable state in 5 years and create potentially generational time freedom or wealth freedoms with the power of e-commerce. Worked for me and turned around my life and freedoms. Now on 40, 50 acres plus in the country, homeschooling my daughters, hanging out, building businesses, having a lot of fun, building brands. We now have 35 under our control. We're acquiring additional ones. As we mentioned in the green room, we've got an LOI for about a $10 million company right now we're acquiring. And we're looking to acquire about 5 more of those in the marketplace right now to expand our brands and go out. So we're moving into the business investor side as well as we expand out our company and our brand.
Good. All the best with your growth and expansion plans.
Thank you.
For now, I would say thank you so much for sharing your insights and on the opportunities people can take. We will put the show things in the show notes so that people can get those links easily accessible.
Wonderful.
For now, thank you so much. It was wonderful to have you.
Thank you for having me on. It's been an honor.
Thanks for listening. If you liked the show, feel free to share it with a friend and write a review. If you have already done so, thank you so much. And if you did not like the show, don't bother and forget about it. Take care and stay safe. Fit4Privacy helps you to create a culture of privacy and manage risks by creating, defining, and implementing a privacy strategy that includes delivering scenario-based training for your staff. We also help those who are looking to get certified in CIPPE, CIPM, and CIPT through on-demand courses that help you prepare and practice for certification exam. Want to know more? Visit www.fit4privacy.com. That's www.fit4privacy.com. If you have questions or suggestions, drop an email at hello@fit4privacy.com. Until next time, goodbye.